Mauritius started the process of doing DTT way back in the day when dvb-t was the standard and proceeded systematically. They have an advantage. It's a very small island. There's only around 2 million people there. Geographically, it's a small place. And sometime last year, it was announced that they had finished the process. They haven't quite finished the process. They're going to send round a survey to every household asking whether there's any households who haven't yet got DTT. In other words, they want to be absolutely clear that everybody has got a set-top box that's capable of receiving a digital signal and that they're happy. Now let me contrast this with Kenya. Kenya decided that its deadline was going to be December 2013. It first said that there will be one signal carrier, and this was going to be Signet, which was the subsidiary of the state broadcaster KBC. It then decided, because the broadcasters were unhappy with putting themselves in the hands of the incumbent broadcaster, that there would be 2 more licenses. And the bidding process took place, and it was decided that Signet would get its license automatically. And the bidding process took place, and Pan-African Network, a subsidiary of Star Times, the Chinese pay TV provider, won one of the licenses, and the bid from the private broadcasters was disqualified. And then there was a court case, and eventually the private broadcasters decided not to proceed. So there are now 2. This year, a 3rd entrant entered the room, because DSTV decided to do GoTV and has made an offer to the Kenyan government to assist in the process of bringing about the digital transition. So as it stands, there's 3 potential signal carriers. The Pan-African Network, which is part of Star Times, has something like 200,000 set-top boxes in the market. And Signet, which is the state broadcaster, has something like 17,000 set-top boxes in the market. The total number of TV households is a bit unclear, but it's well over the million mark. So you can see there's a long way to go. There has been no public campaign, either by the broadcasters or the government, to explain what this is about. So not unnaturally, it's a rather slow process. And nobody believes the deadline. Nobody believes the deadline in Africa. So the government recently, under some pressure from the broadcasters, decided that it would put the deadline back to June 2014. So, something of a mess. The other detail that I didn't give you was that they started with dvb-t, and then by the time 20,000 set-top boxes had been sold, decided that they would go with dvb-t2. So, all those people who bought dvb-t were a bit at a disadvantage and had to change up their set-top boxes. So that's one example. The other example is Nigeria, which started 4 or 5 years ago to write a policy paper, set up a digital task force, very sensible thing to do. The existing president died, and it wasn't until sometime late last year, some 5 years later, that this policy paper was published. In the meantime, Star Times had done a deal with the national broadcaster, NTA, in order to start putting set-top boxes in the market. It now has something like 1.5 million set-top boxes in the market, and there is a policy, and the policy has not yet caught up with the reality of that. So in other words, the Star Times as the distributor of set-top boxes and as the signal carrier will be the dominant player in that market in a fairly ad hoc manner. So I give you those 3 examples. If you're a broadcaster, it's kind of scary stuff, because as I was saying yesterday, in Tanzania, they simply turned the signal off. So broadcasters discovered that they had far less TV households to sell to advertisers. Advertisers paid them less money, and they suffered a financial crisis, which they're still arguing with the government about. Not all areas of Tanzania, but it is the key population centres. So with that as a kind of introduction, some good, some very bad, I want to introduce to you the first of our speakers, who is Aldred Dreyer, who is the CTO of the Namibia Broadcasting Company.